From under the ground and into fresh air for what could be the first time in a century, these University of Idaho students are looking for history right in their own backyard.
It's a 7-day clock. I wind it every Wednesday.
So you got to push them down.
This time, Creme 2 first-rate photog Brett Alberry is getting harnessed up to make the straight-up trek 2.
All right. Rock and roll.
A fall restraint system is necessary because it is more straight up than stairs.
There you go. Yep. And then just come up around it. Okay, you ready? Ready. Okay.
Now it's stairs, then steeper stairs, until they reach what Mike calls the oxygen floor.
This is the oxygen floor because usually by the time you get up here with the ladder climb, the 2 flights, this is where you rest.
Even with big heavy books, that could make a difference, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So to capture all the action, we've got cameras stationed at 6 points throughout the shooting range. That way we stay safe from live fire, but we don't miss a single shot.
So we've got our safety gear, so let's get started. Ready?
Okay, sounds good. We're going to start with a 9mm, a full metal jacket, and we'll fire 3 rounds.
Okay.
All the way through?
All the way through.
That poor thesaurus. Now what about the back of the backpack?
Nothing.
So absolutely nothing exited the panel.
Nope.
As advertised.
Exactly.
I'm here with Karen Gemmel. She was one of 2,000 volunteers who participated in Washington State's Road Usage Charge Pilot Program. We're here about a year later to find out what she thought about the program. So Karen, why don't we take this conversation on the road?
Sounds good.
All right, Karen, now that we've hit the road, when we spoke in April last year, you mentioned you wanted to volunteer to have a voice in this potential change.
Yes.
So now that we're circling back to you, what is your voice? What do you want to say?
My issue is there are so many different governments involved with our streets, our highways, and our roads. I want to know, how are they going to guarantee that the little town that I drive through is getting their portion of my road usage tax?
Look.
It's gigantic and it's fragile.
There's a message.
Oh, look, it says Portland Public Library.
Oh, hey there. Sorry to interrupt, but have you heard the news? HGTV is looking to cast general contractors in the Spokane area. Here, I can explain. Just click on this link below. It's right here in black and white. A mysterious Craigslist ad is throwing hints that HGTV is looking for talent in our area to be on a new show. Nowadays, it seems like you can do just about anything from an app on your phone. Need a ride somewhere? Call for an Uber. Do you need to rent a home for a weekend? Check out Airbnb. Now, what if you're desperate for parking in a city? Well, there's now an app for that as well. It's called Driveways. Driveways is like an Airbnb for your driveway. Hosts or homeowners can decide when that space is open and charge for an hourly fee.
Because you do sit there and you do daydream.
We know the chances are slim, and the odds are against us.
That's all of them.
But sometimes we just can't help but dream.
If I won, $500 right now, I'll pay most of my rent.
And then you start to think, well, man, what if I win 50 grand?
Yeah, that's changed your whole life.
But what happens if you're buying a ticket for a jackpot you can't actually win?
So here's the thing. Each of these scratch-off tickets is supposed to give you a shot at the top prize, right? That's why we're all playing. It can be anywhere from $1,000 to $2 million. But sometimes someone will win the jackpot and the game stays in circulation. So let's just say Ted over here bought a scratch ticket at this store and won the top prize. Well, then you come along somewhere else buying a ticket for the same game, hoping to win that top prize, never knowing that he already got it and you never had a chance.
There was a time when a paper cut could turn deadly. Mothers and babies routinely died in childbirth, and the treatment for tuberculosis was fresh air. Cue the antibiotic era, starting with penicillin in 1942. Infectious diseases were squashed as the leading cause of death, and life expectancy increased by decades. Life-saving surgeries surged in success, and elective surgeries became a thing. You see, every time we take an antibiotic, it's like survival of the fittest. We're creating stronger, more resistant bacteria. And it's not just the pills. The vast majority of antibiotics go into agriculture. When we cram livestock together and feed them antibiotics to keep them healthy, well, their meat ends up carrying drug-resistant bacteria. And veggies? We use animal manure to fertilize crops, so that transmits drug-resistant bacteria too. When you eat those things, you could end up colonized with E. coli, for example. You can still be healthy, but you can spread the bad bacteria and not even know it.
Spokane Public Schools says its goal is to keep schools open during snowy weather, but with that said, safety is its first priority. So how does it decide whether to delay or close its schools? Well, it starts with the mobilization of its Weather Alert Team, which includes district leaders and officials with the Durham bus service. At 3 a.m., Durham supervisors will drive bus routes on the north and south sides of Spokane, then report their recommendations to district leaders. At 5 a.m., the superintendent and community relations director are briefed and make a final decision. Families are notified of delays or closures by 6 a.m. Before a decision is made, the district will look at multiple factors. Those include weather as of 4:30 a.m., the morning and afternoon forecast, how well the city has done overnight in de-icing and snow removal, and the snow and ice situation across the district. The district sends out its 11 plows when the predicted snowfall is expected to be more than 2 inches. It takes crews from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. to plow the entire district. Now, all these factors were considered when deciding to delay school by 2 hours this morning. District spokesperson Brian Coddington says the delay gave city plows more time to make another pass at arterials. This also meant buses could pick up students after the morning rush when there's less traffic. Tomorrow we're expecting more snow, so the district will go through the same process with crews out driving bus routes at 3 a.m. and keeping an eye on the timing and intensity of the storm. The district says students are excused from school if their parents believe it's unsafe to make the trip.
When Billy Met Lisa. It's a tale that many, myself included, would love to hear. If you take a look up, you can see that their public display of affection is coming to an end very soon, but many of the hopeless romantics out there are hoping that their love is still going strong. Since the 1930s, the grain silos have stood in Spokane, but age is catching up to them, which means they can no longer be used for storage. Countless people who drive past the silos each day to get to work are sad to see the structures go. Many are also asking, whatever happened to Billy and Lisa?
I don't know the backstory. I wish I did. It's probably the greatest love story in the history of Spokane. If Billy doesn't love Lisa, maybe he's got a really good contract with a demolition crew and just decided to get that out of here.
It's going to be something when it's gone because it'll open up the skyline. I'm not sure exactly what they'll put in there. Once that's gone, Billy, I hope he still loves Lisa.
I think everybody feels a little sad to see it be removed because it's been there for so many years. I think it's sad that their names are going to be gone. That's probably the saddest part of removing the silos.
Many working at businesses nearby are also wondering how Billy or Lisa put their names up there since it is up so high. So many mysteries that we are hoping to solve. All right, Billy and Lisa, if you are watching, I am very interested in chatting with you because Spokane has a lot of questions. If you know this Billy or Lisa, please let us know. You can email us at newstips@krem.com, or you can find or reach out to us on Facebook. I also wanted to point out that there is another spot that you will see in green written where it says Billy loves Lisa. We really just want to know, does Billy still love Lisa?
Well, who exactly are Billy and Lisa? Well, we don't have a confirmed answer just yet, but a lot of you are posting your theories on social media. Oh, maybe we've come pretty close here. This thread has some speculation. They broke up months after he tagged that. What's the story? Do you know? Not entirely. Read it from some people who knew them back when it happened, and they said it didn't last much longer after that had been made. My daughter is friends with their son, Miles, and says they are still together. Who knows? And we're back to where we started. Well, Lindsay Nelson seems like she has a theory. I heard the story long ago, she says. They never dated. His grand gesture didn't work. Okay, maybe we have something here. This couple, Billy and Lisa Roden, commented on our page, but they say the painting isn't theirs, but that they have always thought it to be about them whenever they see it. We're sorry to see it gone, Lisa Roden said. So the search continues. One woman says she's waiting for the signs Billy loves Lisa to start showing up all around town. So we made that happen with these photoshopped images. Now, even though we don't know exactly who Billy and Lisa are, we do know their names have become quite familiar to many of us. So keep posting your theories. Maybe we're getting a little closer to finding out who they are.
There were flames everywhere.
It was a raging inferno. It was a monster.
I had the clothes on my back, and that was it.
Watched the big red glow coming down over the hill.
Sometimes you say, well, gee, it'll never happen to me, but, you know, bang, it did. Now what?
I don't know. It's just gone. Leaving our home with not very much and coming back to nothing.
Our life is destroyed.
It happened in a matter of days. More than 250,000 acres burned, hundreds of homes destroyed. Now 5 years have passed since the devastating Carlton Complex wildfire changed thousands of lives forever in central Washington. Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Whitney Ward. And for every person we talk to, there are dozens more with similar stories, which is why there are now at least 300 families who have filed claims against Washington DNR, hoping to hold them accountable for what happened. And among those families taking action with that lawsuit is one couple that I have talked to every single year since the fire. They lost their home, their dogs, all their belongings, all of their cars, heavy equipment, fencing, and countless other things on their property. And even now, 5 years later, they are still trying to put the pieces of their life back together.
Came up here and I stopped it from coming head on to the plate, and then it went over on that side of the creek. It never goes away. It'll be with you forever.
Kim Maltis remembers exactly how it felt the day the Carlton Complex exploded onto his property near Twisp.
And it was so noisy, so hot, so smoky. And I was up there with basically a phone in one hand and a nozzle in the other.
He remembers his wife pleading with firefighters to help save their house.
She kept telling me they're not coming, nobody will come, nobody will help. And I was, come on to those engines, and they just sat there.
Images and feelings that still haunt him 5 years later.
This was a man-caused disaster from the beginning all the way through.
What comes back to you? What's the thing that you think about the most?
Just how devastating it was and how fast, everything can change in your life. I mean, you get up one morning and everything's perfectly normal and fine, and by the end of the day, you're homeless.
Today, Kim and his wife are retired and live at his mother's old home, which thankfully did not burn in the fire.
We're making it.
But he says every day there are reminders of what was lost.
When you go to reach for something and it's not there, well then, here it all comes again, You learn that, a lot of the stuff you had that you thought was important really isn't. But just, to look out at the land, the property, and how beautiful it was. And how it looks now. I mean, that's the hardest thing.
Did you guys ever think about going somewhere else?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what made you decide to stay?
This is home. This is where I was born and raised. But by that time, it's too late.
And it's where he's continued to build his life.
There she is. That's the last one.
While always knowing it will never really be the same.
So that was the worst, is having to bury those dogs. You try to put it in the back of your mind, but a lot of things, will trigger. You see fire on TV or anything like that, it just brings it back. It's still hard to leave home because you're just afraid it won't be there when you get back.
But every day gets just a little bit easier, he says, as he creates a new home and a new life on the land he loves.
You just got to keep going. You got to get up and you got to keep going. And that's the secret. And that's the human spirit. You can take just about anything and get through just about anything if you're willing to.
Thank you for staying with us tonight. Before we say goodnight, I just want to say thank you to all of the families and the homeowners who let me into their lives to tell these stories. It has been such a privilege to earn your trust. Over the years, my photographer Brett Alberry and I have crisscrossed the map, and we captured these before and after photos in many of the hardest hit areas of the Carlton complex. I hope that when you look at them, you see what I see, which is a beautiful part of our state that was devastated 5 years ago, but little by little, they have finally found their way back.
I think people still remember and it's still talked about, but the attitude is a lot more optimistic than it was.
We're not going to let fire stop us. There's so many people involved in this that it gives people strength.
And it's coming back really nicely. If I spend my tourism dollars, this is a really good spot.
I think it's getting really pretty again.
You just want to stay in the area. It's home.
We are a tight-knit community now, and I love it, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
It's worth your time to come here and help somebody. Small town communities, that's what you do.
You just keep on going and you help everyone around you.
Beautiful night, man, I can't believe it.
We are who we are now because of everything that's happened.
Hi everyone, we are live here at River Park Square where we are hosting our Salute to Service special and celebrating all those who have served and those who continue to wear the uniform. One of our favorite nonprofits that we love to partner with is the Inland Northwest Honor Flight. Over and over we hear from veterans that traveling to Washington, D.C. to see the memorials built in their honor is part of their healing. We recently sat down with a very special Vietnam veteran and tells his story.
I got to stand at that wall and honor him. I felt like I was honoring my friend and all the 57,000 other people on that wall. And I was truly honored to go. I had had letters from my wife and my family, people at our church, 130 kids here at Meade High School. these kids, high schoolers, they all said thank you for doing something that they weren't even around for. I hope you enjoy your gift, and I hope you have an amazing honor flight. She gave me a box of cookies to welcome me home. A box of cookies doesn't seem like a lot. That was something that it meant a lot. It was just amazing. I just can't say enough. It made me feel that there are people out here that really care for people.
We spoke with Tom yesterday about this story, and as you saw from that, he didn't receive any packages when he was in Vietnam, and then when he was on honor flight and he got that package of letters and that package of Girl Scout cookies, it meant so much to him. So this is in honor of him. We made a phone call yesterday to the Girl Scouts here in the Inland Northwest, and we said, is there any chance that we could get some Girl Scout cookies and put one in some of the boxes for our Treats to Troops program? And they said, absolutely. And they arrived tonight. There's Girl Scouts behind me, 500 boxes of Thin Mints in honor of Tom and all the veterans who maybe never got a package when they were overseas. And we're going to make sure this year that everyone deployed with Fairchild Air Force Base gets a package and gets those Girl Scout cookies. Thank you for answering our phone call. Can I get a big wave, guys? And thank you for everything the Girl Scouts do.
There is a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of the Inland Northwest. We're also tracking flood warnings for parts of Douglas and northern Grant counties.
Let's get straight to Tom Sherry in the Weather Center monitoring everything. Tom, we're here in Thunder Boom is here at the station too.
Yeah, we sure are. The severe thunderstorms, though, have been in areas of north central Idaho, not yet in Spokane, although it sure feels like it. It seems like it. This is just a few moments ago from our webcam looking downtown, and as you can see, reduced visibility with the heavy rain and the hail. We have water ponding on the roadways right now, and of course, this is just at 5 o'clock at night, so everybody's leaving the office building. You know that even on a good day, getting on I-90 and heading east is already very, very crowded, so this makes for a very dangerous situation with the reduced visibility, the water ponding on the roadway, the thunder that is roaring above. Of course, if you hear it roar, you go indoors, right? So if you're watching us at the office, it would behoove you to maybe just stay there maybe another extra 15 to 20 minutes before you decide to head home. Here's the line of thunderstorms. You can see them right now moving across the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene area. So that one is centered. The heart of the storm is a little bit to west of Spokane. As you head farther east, it diminishes in strength, but look down towards Valley Ford. Another line of showers and thunderstorms and also moving up towards the Spokane Valley. So again, it's going to be very dangerous over the next half hour or so. We've kind of timed it out with the strongest part of this first system that's kind of in western Spokane County. In another, looks like 9 minutes, it will be in the 7 Mile area. At 5:17, you'll see the worst of the storm in the 9 Mile Falls region. And we also have a flood watch that is in effect right now. That is everywhere you see shaded in green. Everywhere you see shaded in green, that is now because of the rapid rise in the rivers and the creeks. And a flood warning is in effect in Spokane right now that was just issued, as well as out in Adams and Grant County, and that's because of, for us, it's because of the urban flooding. It's just overwhelming our storm drains right now.
The flooding even impacting the Fox Theater in downtown Spokane. They have now canceled the Art Garfunkel concert at the Fox tonight. In a Facebook post, they say there is flooding inside the theater in front of the stage. They're working to reschedule that show now.
And it looks like some people are actually out in the elements making the most of the severe weather tonight.
Yeah, KREM 2's Tim Pham has a story from Kendall Yards that just caught our eye. Tim?
Yeah, you guys, if you're not looking at your screen right now, you need to take a look at this. This guy is swimming. A viewer shared this video with us just minutes ago of her son swimming on College Avenue in Kendall Yards. Okay, that was shivering right there. You heard him. I'm sure that water is pretty cold, maybe freezing. His mom, Krista, sent us this video on Instagram, and you can see a steady stream of water flowing east on College Avenue. And while this is pretty hilarious, it's probably not recommended by police. The water also looks a little gross, too. The best part of the video is when her son asks if there's school tomorrow, and I guess we'll see. And you guys, I used to live in the South. This is definitely not recommended. There's fire ants and sometimes alligators. You never know. But I doubt there's any of that here, but still pretty hilarious nonetheless.
But you probably don't want to drink that water, buddy.
Yeah, wouldn't recommend that. It's good to be young, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Tim. Well, we want to give you a closer look at the current conditions around the region now.
KREM 2 meteorologist Thomas Patrick is live in downtown Spokane, where drivers are kind of struggling to get past all the standing water. Thomas?
Yeah, that's right, Jane and Mark. One of the hardest flooded areas that we found in the immediate downtown area is just off the interstate. This is Walnut Street behind me. And really just notice how the sidewalk gives way into basically a lake for this intersection. All the cars are splashing up the water so bad we actually had to take a couple steps back just now as they're pushing it literally right onto the sidewalk. Now, I do want to direct your attention off to the right here, and there are a couple cones that are in the middle of the street just between Walnut and Maple. We saw a couple police officers here a few minutes ago, and they're starting to block off the roads and the intersections, particularly this one, which is definitely the heaviest flooded that we've seen in the entire downtown area. So if you can, just avoid it altogether, even though we are still seeing some cars really pass through this area. But again, avoid the flooded areas if you can. I definitely wouldn't recommend going swimming. It does look pretty dirty and gross myself as well. But at least it's not raining. A plus there, but be cautious for any more flooding concerns over the next 24 hours as we do see more rain still in the forecast, as you'll see in Tom's forecast in just a little bit here.
Hey, good evening. We are on North Cannon and Francis, and I'm joined by Trooper Nate Parent. Nate, when you got here, tell us what you saw. I mean, we heard about some cars here stuck in the water, right?
Right. Basically, it's flooded right here at Francis and Cannon. It's a large pool of water. When I got here, there were several cars, basically, that were stuck in the water. A couple of them, everyone was able to get out, but it was they had to ditch their cars there in the roadway. And then we actually had some kayakers show up and give us a hand with clearing the cars, making sure there was nobody else in there.
Yeah. And as we kind of let you guys take a look at what it's looking like right now, what can we tell folks about traffic revisions, road blockage? We're seeing some traffic coming up north being blocked here.
That's pretty. I would avoid the area if you can. I mean, we've got it diverting over here onto Elm and then down to Rowan, but it's still backed up pretty good. Yeah, Francis is definitely backed up right now, so I'd avoid it if you can.
Yeah. You mentioned one of the cars, there was water flooded all the way through the cab, right?
Right. When I got here, I spoke with the owner of the car, and he said that he finally ditched his car when the water rushed inside the cabin, and so he just left it and waited for us to show up.
Welcome back. We're tracking more flooding around North Spokane, particularly near TJ Menock Drive.
And for more on that, we'll send things over to our Casey Decker. He is live on the scene with more information. Casey.
Hey guys, well, we just got here to TJ Menock Drive just a few moments ago, and we looked out over the edge of this ravine here, and you can see there is just a ton of rubble right in the middle of the road right now, and it goes all the way down for several yards here. And right now TJ Menock is blocked off on either end because of all the rubble that's come down here. This is basically a small landslide in the middle of this road. I'm told this is a kind of a water reservoir over here, like for sewage overflow. But right now, no cars on the street, and there's no river flowing on the on the road. But that wasn't the case a little while ago. Take a look at this video here. So you can see that there is just a ton of water on the street along with all the rubble, and cars are having a hard time getting through the road. Really dramatic scene here earlier, and it's still pretty crazy here right now, just given that a whole just side of a hill has basically fallen onto TJ Menock Drive, and it's really just very impressive scene here with just all this dirt and these large rocks on the street. So if you're trying to get in this area, avoid TJ Menock Drive, because you're not going to be able to get on it, and even if you do manage to get on it, you're going to see a lot of dirt, a lot of rocks in the middle of the road. Mark, Jane?
We want to thank those of you who've been sharing your photos and videos of the extreme weather with us.
Yeah, our Whitney Ward joins us now to look at some of those moments caught on camera tonight. Whitney?
Yeah, so we just want to kind of highlight some of those really powerful images that we've seen tonight from the storm that swept through really fast and really furiously. So quite a few videos of rushing water, lots of clogged gutters tonight, backing up all the streets. You can see the water rushing by this car. This was from Tim, who sent us this video, so big thanks to Tim for sending us this. There were lots of scenes like that all around the Valley area. So also big thanks to Mark Hanrahan for sharing this video. This was hail up here on the South Hill. The interesting thing was it didn't hail everywhere, so not everyone saw hail like this. Those who did, though, definitely got a short but strong dose of that hail this evening. Lots of people saw scenes like this tonight. This was flooding actually on Division. We definitely don't see scenes like that very often. This was from one of our directors, Courtney Larson. She was driving down Division, saw a ton of standing water tonight. So did a lot of people in downtown Spokane. Water in some of those places is going to take a while to continue to recede. Also, high winds, lots of thunder and lightning all across the region tonight. And of course, standing water just about everywhere. Traffic was backed up at pretty much the worst possible time, right? It was right around 5 o'clock. It definitely took my husband 90 minutes to get from Argonne to North Spokane. So that's normally about a 30-minute trip. Not tonight, though. A lot of traffic frustrations for people out there. That is easing up, though, right about now. We also know at least 5,000 people lost power tonight. Some are still without at this hour. Crews, though, of course, working hard to get all of that restored.
The dog owner, Zach Harper, is calling this tragedy a freak accident. He says 1 second he was walking his dog along the sidewalk here outside the Washington Trust Bank building. The next second, his 4-year-old dog died in front of him. He believes his dog was electrocuted.
This is right where he stopped me.
Zach Harper says he and his dog Hank frequently take walks downtown. On Tuesday afternoon, they walked over a heated sidewalk near the entrance to the Washington Trust Bank parking garage. That's when Zach's dog suddenly froze.
Froze and then went straight into sounds I've never heard him make before. It was something that's going to stick with me, unfortunately, for quite some time.
At first, he thought Hank stepped on something that hurt his paw. He reached down to find out what was wrong, and Hank bit him, which is something he'd never do. Zach reached down again, only this time he felt a shock.
I could physically feel a jolt, and I had thought it was maybe due to he was microchipped, and so I thought maybe it was due to a microchip malfunction. When I realized it wasn't his microchip, my phone was sitting directly behind him, and so I went to grab my phone and got shocked extremely hard. And so that was when I started to yell, I think it's something in the pavement. I think it's something in the pavement. He's being electrocuted.
Strangers helped move Hank to another section of sidewalk, and Zach started doing CPR.
And I was breathing air in through his nose, just trying to do something, and nothing worked out for me.
Despite his attempts to help, Hank died.
I'd had him since he was 7 weeks old. I adopted him in college. He'd been through a lot with me, by my side.
He believes a combination of corroded wiring and salt on a wet sidewalk helped carry the electric current. Meantime, Zach is blown away by the Washington Trust Bank's supportive response to his loss. COO Jack Heath has even launched an investigation.
He has completely owned up and taken responsibility for this, and he knows that it's Washington Trust Bank's responsibility, and I don't want to use the word fault, but it is their fault. Like I said, I don't have any intention on turning this into anything negative, but I do expect something to change, and I have no doubt in my mind that the right changes will take place.
Washington Trust Bank says Hank's death was caused by a stray voltage. They've since turned off the electricity outside the building. Its building manager, Avista, and building engineers are working together to determine the cause. Avista also confirmed with us they've inspected all Avista equipment in the area and found everything working properly. Zach, still grieving the loss of his best friend, hopes his story will prompt other dog owners to take extra precautions when it's wet out.
As crazy as it sounds to always put little booties on your dogs before you walk them, if it's wet outside and you're walking downtown, I would absolutely encourage that because you could potentially save their life.
Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Washington Trust Bank hired engineers to investigate what caused its heated sidewalk system to fail at the cost of a local dog's life. Their report indicates it could be due to a corroded cable in the system.
In his report, Kaufman Engineering Inc.'s Stephen Helms writes Zach Harper's dog Hank most likely died from an electrical current that passed through his body and his heart and disrupted his normal heart rhythm. He goes on to write the current was likely due to a break in insulation of the snowmelt system that caused a voltage gradient in the concrete where Hank was walking. He says the system is 45 years old and points to several factors, one being the concrete was wet with de-icer on it, which increased the conductivity of the water on the sidewalk. And salt water is 500 times more conductive than fresh water. The report also notes the bank's heated sidewalk system met code when it was installed in 1973, but that this type of malfunction wouldn't happen in newer systems due to new code requirements adopted in 1993. He writes, newly installed systems are safe. All the newer systems will trip off any circuit that has a ground fault.
What do you think about their findings?
Well, I first would start off by expressing my gratitude for having this level of report that was conducted and taken so seriously by Washington Trust Bank. And
Hanks owner Zach Harper now wears a bracelet gifted to him by the bank's CEO, Jack Heath.
It represents the paw prints that he left on my heart, and then the reverse side has a heart here, so it's the pieces of my heart Hank took with him.
Washington Trust Bank said it commissioned the investigation for Zach and the bank to better understand what happened.
The one thing I still do struggle with is Washington Trust Bank never did that update, so they never had those circuit breakers installed after 1993, and I'm not quite sure why, but moving forward, I want to make that a requirement here in Spokane. I want to see to it that some sort of initiative, some sort of measure, law, whatever it takes.
Zach says he also plans to continue working with Washington Trust to educate the community and local businesses of this potential danger.
At the end of the day, you know, I am very appreciative that what I do know and how quickly I know it gives me some sort of peace of mind.
Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News. Hank and his human, Zach Harper, used to walk downtown every day. Now, Hank's memory will live on to help keep other dogs safe in our city.
I looked on our website yesterday and I saw Hank's face literally smiling back at us. And as a lawyer and now as a council member, what I like is when we can take a tragedy and make something better and help people in the future. And that's really what this did.
An investigation in February found a stray voltage on a heated sidewalk likely electrocuted Hank. The new citywide law in his name requires property owners with a de-icing system on a public right-of-way to meet the current code.
The new ones are required to have immediate cutoff if there's a short or something like this. But older ones weren't, and that's what happened to Hank that day. And out of that tragedy comes something the city doesn't normally do, is we're going back and saying, we don't care when you built your electric sidewalk heating system, you got to fix it. And also, you got to tell us about it.
Property owners will now complete a registration application that includes the location of the equipment. All existing systems are required a safety inspection, which can be scheduled with the city for free. Over the last 7 months, Hank's owner worked closely with City Council to make sure the streets are safe for pets. Harper says with Hank's Law now in effect, this means his mission is complete.
I'm delighted. Yeah, I'm just happy that it's come full circle and you know, it's provided me with some closure to what I set out to do.
Oh my goodness.
It hit all at once. Hail pelted parts of the South Hill this afternoon. Then came the rain. It was too much for the storm drains, and it quickly spilled over into the streets. This was Division, just north of the Spokane River. Near I-90 and Maple, water poured into an apartment complex.
It was literally almost all the way up to the top of the door jam, and it was just pouring through the basement door.
TJ Menock looked more like a river, forcing crews to shut the road down. Even first responders weren't immune to the troubles. A fire truck got stuck in a sinkhole in the Perry district. From widespread flooding to power outages, KREM 2 was all over the fallout from today's powerful spring storm. Well, there was a lot of this happening around Spokane tonight. Drivers stalled and high water had to be towed to higher ground. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
Welcome everyone. I'm Whitney Ward here alongside Tom Sherry. The rain, the hail, it came in very fast today, right as rush hour traffic was all getting started. We've got all the angles covered tonight.
Yeah, we are tracking new numbers on how much rain fell in just 20 minutes time tonight, and floodwaters took the stage at the Fox instead of legend Art Garfunkel.
We're going to show you how people dealt with all the rain and the flooded streets. And then after all of this, what do our downtown streets look like right now? We're going to start though here with Tom Sherry. Of course, we knew the storm was coming, and boy, did it pack a punch.
It sure did. And you talk about how much rain fell. Well, we had almost an inch of rainfall in downtown Spokane in 20 minutes. Overall, though, we saw more than that. Take a look at this time-lapse photography. It starts out kind of slow, and then you see the rain really beginning to build. Here's part of the almost inch of rain that fell in a 20-minute period. I mean, it was just incredible. Overall, when you take a look at all the rain that has fallen in Spokane today, you can see that we actually picked up almost an inch and a half of rain. It was just too much rain for the storm drains to handle. And you saw that once the rain stopped, they were able to handle the overflow, but boy, it took a while for the drains to catch up. Spokane Valley out at Felds Field picked up almost 3/4 of an inch of rain. Here on the South Hill at Krem 2, we picked up a ½ inch, 1/4 inch being reported out at the Spokane Airport. And look at this, Lakeview Park in Grant County picked up 2.5 inches of rain with this storm. It was unbelievable. And we still have rain falling in Spokane, and more is headed our way. You can see it down to the southeast of us in north central Idaho. Again, that's all tracking up towards the northwest. Lots of rain still falling down in the lower Columbia Basin, but we shouldn't see any more wicked thunderstorms like we saw today. And because of all the rain and the expected rain, flood watch is in effect through Saturday morning for everywhere you see shaded in green. Tomorrow we'll look for a daytime high of 55 degrees, so much cooler than average. We'll get up to 62 on Saturday. Saturday should be mostly dry, and then a chance of more showers or thunderstorms on Sunday. I'll check the rest of your forecast and your 10-day outlook coming up in a few minutes.
Sounds good, Tom. Thank you very much. Well, check out this video. One of our directors, Courtney, shared it with us of a very flooded Division Street near North River Drive.
So it was just an incredible amount of water, just like Tom said. Our Casey Decker is actually live in downtown Spokane tonight, back in that same spot to check on how things are looking now. Hi, Casey.
Hey, Whitney. Well, things right now are quite a bit quieter than what you saw in that dramatic video there. Still a light rain right now, and maybe a decent-sized puddle or two in the road, but for the most part, it's just kind of damp street. Still, throughout the day, this rain has caused a number of issues, from the flooded roads to small landslides earlier, and in the case of one woman I met today, a flooded apartment.
All of a sudden I heard like this gurgling sound coming from the bathroom, and I opened the door and the toilet was spurting black water out of it.
Janice Slaughter lives in a basement apartment of the Maplehurst complex downtown. Not long after she got home from work, the torrential rains became frightening flooding.
And I came outside and the whole street was like just buried.
The waters quickly poured in, rising nearly halfway up this doorway. She quickly worked with her neighbors to protect their homes, pushing water and debris away from the rooms. Their fast teamwork helped stop the most serious damage.
I still can live there. It's a little bit of water and we're going to get it soaked up and it'll be okay.
For Janice, that was especially important. There are some truly priceless things in her apartment.
The water came through my windows, and my mom just recently passed away, and so all her pictures and stuff were there, and I was really worried about that, but thankfully they didn't get ruined. They're a little wet, but they're salvageable. So
after just a few hours, most of the water and debris had been cleaned up, and the neighbors brought a little closer together by their hard work.
I am feeling so happy inside right now because, like I said, it could have been a whole lot worse, and I'm just very thankful for the people that I do live with in this apartment complex. So I'm very thankful to them.
So it's always just so amazing to see communities, neighbors banding together to face challenges like this. We saw that one story there at Maplehurst, but I'm sure there are tons more all around the Inland Northwest tonight. Mark, Whitney?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
neighbors helping neighbors, right? That's the good part of this. Well, the Fox Theater in downtown Spokane also flooded this evening, forcing them to cancel tonight's performance with Art Garfunkel.
In a Facebook post, they said there's flooding inside the theater in front of the stage, and because of that, they said they had no choice but to cancel tonight's performance.
So there were various electrical cables, all strewn about. Obviously, that water and electrical cables don't mix so well, so that was a concern. And yeah, I mean, just, getting around backstage was really impossible. So for that reason, we couldn't do the show. And then specifically because we couldn't have Art Garfunkel and his crew on stage ahead of time.
So they tell us they are now working to reschedule that show. And as soon as we learn more, we'll be sure to pass it along to you.
All the rain caused flash flooding on TJ Meanock Drive this evening and left behind a big mess. You can see cars struggling to get up the road. Look at all that water.
Wow.
The water even pushed some cars back down the hill. The road's still blocked in both directions tonight. The city of Spokane does not have an estimate on when it will reopen.
There was standing water that caused all kinds of headaches all across the area tonight, and it took an especially heavy toll on the evening commute.
Meteorologist Thomas Patrick is out on the roads in the mobile storm tracker this evening with a check of conditions now. Hi, Thomas.
Hey there, Mark and Whitney. Yeah, just following up on some of the flooded roads that we saw from earlier this afternoon, especially during that evening commute hour. This is what I think was the hardest hit area between Maple and Walnut, as well as 5th and 4th Avenue. So this is 4th right here with Walnut, the intersecting street in front of us. And basically from here and the next intersection that you see was the hardest hit and the hardest flooded area. You might be able to tell there's a little bit of some gravel that's in the road. That was really because the water kind of deposited it there from the flooding from earlier, but now it's all good to go. Check back at what the video we had from earlier today, and the road itself, as well as part of the sidewalk, was just covered in those flood waters, and it made for a very difficult go in this intersection. And at times we saw some police officers starting to close off a couple lanes at a time, but once the rain started to subside quite a bit, well, so did the flood waters as well. So that brings us back to where we're at now. We're just getting a few sprinkles out here, so not expecting any more flood conditions to worsen, but make sure to mind any flooded roads or closed roads as of tonight, because you'll have to detour those around for tomorrow morning's commute. Reporting live from the mobile storm tracker, I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick. Back to you in the studio.
Thomas, thank you. He kind of touched on it there, but the water was high enough in some areas it forced crews to shut down certain roads and reroute traffic.
Yeah, it caused just a ton of backups pretty much everywhere. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley shares a look back at the worst of it from earlier tonight.
We've been all over Spokane today, from downtown Spokane at Kendall Yards, moving up north, and ended up here at Francis and Canyon, where this intersection is seeing some major flooding. Several cars had to be towed out because they were stuck and were stalled in this body of water here. We even captured video of one woman whose car had to be pulled out after trying to drive through the intersection.
Ready? When I got here, there were several cars. Basically, they were stuck in the water. A couple of them, everyone was able to get out, but it was they had to ditch their cars there in the roadway. And then we actually had some kayakers show up and give us a hand with clearing the cars, making sure there was nobody else in there.
A KREM 2 viewer sent us this video of flooding on North Division near North River Drive. When we got to that area, the water covered the entire road. Spokane police set out flares in the far right lanes, directing traffic away from the flooding. But some cars, though, had no choice but to go through it. Employees and customers at the Jewelry Design Center watched as the water crept up to the parking lot entrance. We were at My Fresh Basket in Kendall Yards at about 5 p.m. when the downpour flooded the streets in a matter of minutes.
Look at this, the crosswalk. This is not safe to walk through. Take a look at these cars here. They're driving through Summit Parkway at Kendall Yards onto the Monroe Street Bridge. It's pretty deep. To some, it didn't matter how deep the water was. This man decided to take his chances and walk through what turned out to be ankle-deep water on the north end of the Monroe Street Bridge.
I think this is probably the most in town that I've seen in a long time.
Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
And while the worst of the flooding is over in downtown Spokane, the work just getting started now for cleanup crews. The city of Spokane tweeted out these pictures tonight, writing, "Long night ahead for wastewater crews. Don't drive through flooded areas and obey road closed signs."
So at its peak, the storm did knock out power to at least 5,000 people. The vast majority were in the city of Spokane and in Spokane Valley. Crews, though, were quick to get things restored for most customers. As we take a look now at the latest Avista outage map, there are about 1,000 homes and businesses still without electricity at this hour, the vast majority of them in the valley and along the Division Corridor. Some new ones, though, up near Sandpoint and Pend Oreille as well. And as for other power companies around the region, Inland Power down to fewer than 60, it looks like. In the dark, Kootenai Electric and Vera Water and Power have restored electricity to all customers who were knocked out earlier tonight.
In all the madness of the severe weather, this happened. A fire truck got stuck in a sinkhole in the Perry district. Firefighters tell us they were sent to find a broken water main and, well, they found it. The break caused the road to collapse beneath them. Firefighters say the pipe burst was likely not related to the storm, but it did cause flooding in at least 3 nearby homes. A tow truck was able to eventually get that fire truck out. Wow. Never a good thing when the first responders are calling for help, right?
No, definitely not.
All right, we are going to continue to keep a close eye on the weather tonight.
Yes, you can find even more information on our website. Just go to KREM.com. You can always get more on our KREM 2 mobile app as well. For now, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back in about 3 minutes.
You're watching KREM 2 News at 11.
Welcome back. It's been exactly 1 month since a beloved Spokane climber died in an avalanche in the Canadian Rockies.
Jess Ross-Kelly left his mark on this community and all around the world, and no one knows that more than his wife, Allison. Today, she sat down with KREM 2's Tim Pham.
The lights are on at the Bing Crosby Theater. Tomorrow, the community will come together to celebrate the life of a man who not only made a difference in Spokane, but also around the world. She sees them every morning, words of encouragement and love written on dozens of cards. They help with grieving, but some days aren't as easy.
The last few weeks have been really, really hard. A lot of roller coasters, a lot of up and down.
Allison Ross-Kelly married her best friend, a man who loved her in a way she never knew existed. You knew him as a world-renowned climber. Allison says he was so much more.
He was an amazing husband. He was a very talented welding inspector. He was a family man. He was an amazing dog dad and had an obsession with our bulldog. So he was just much more than just a climber, and we wanted to really make a celebration of life that really grasps that.
And that's exactly what the Ross-Kelly family will do, a celebration of life to highlight what Jess brought to this world.
That's the best thing about Jess, is he touched people in so many different ways, and people have so many great stories to tell about him, and we want to hear that.
In a time that is dark, so many people have provided light. Complete strangers and people who love Jess continue to lift her up every day.
Like knowing that Jess and I have so much support from the community, not just here but worldwide, has been absolutely unreal.
There's a lot of things on Allison's heart. So many people she wants to thank for walking with her through this season. While she's leaning on others, she also finds comfort in the joy climbing brought into their lives.
It's not the sport that is at fault. It just happens. And he was doing what he loved, and that's what I can hold on to.
A reception will follow at the Washington Cracker Building. The Ross-Kelly family tells me that this is a time where the community is invited to share a special story or a memory of Jess. Reporting in Spokane, I'm Tim Pham, KREM 2 News.
Welcome back. We've been talking about, of course, the rain. It just came down. It came so hard and so fast, and really it didn't even last that long. It just was so much water all at once.
Yeah, so intense. A fire hose from the sky. Yeah, sure. And then we had wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour. Let's get right to it right now. This is what time-lapse video of what happened over at Lake Coeur d'Alene, and you can see the storm building and building. You can almost see rotation going on. It isn't, of course, but I mean, my gosh, just look at that. And for a while, it almost looks like you're looking at ripples in the lake, but of course, that wasn't the case at all. Just those building clouds and that incredible amount of rainfall. We're going through it one more time. Just all of them moving in, and then you just get almost obscured reduced visibility from all the rain that's falling. There it is right there. Let's do a quick recap here. We had a high today of 70, an overnight low of 54. I talked this about the top of the hour. Out at the airport, a quarter inch of rain, but downtown Spokane, about an inch and a half of rain. We talked about one Weather Service spotter up in the Garland district reported about almost an inch of rain falling in 20 minutes. So, I mean, that's just a lot. Right now we're at 53 degrees with very light rain falling in the Spokane area. We're not going to get much warmer than that tomorrow. Our daytime high is only going to be about 55 degrees. We've got plenty of cool maritime air now pushing into the northwest. And you can see, we had snow, heavy snow that fell in the Sierra Nevada mountain range down in Northern California. A lot of that moisture rotated up into the Pacific Northwest, combined with this much cooler air now moving in off the Pacific Ocean. We're just set up with a lot of unstable air and unseasonably cooler temperatures. So we go from temperatures in the 80s over Mother's Day weekend to temperatures tomorrow that will only be in the 50s. And as you can see, we've got light rain occurring across the area. Here we are in Spokane. It extends up towards Deer Park, also up around Spirit Lake, Coeur d'Alene, Sandpoint, seeing some of the light rain as well. When I run the Future Tracker computer model for you, 2 o'clock in the morning, we get some heavy rain once again redeveloping in the Silver Valley, as you can see right here, and in Shoshone County. And then at 9 o'clock in the morning, it's just rain. We continue with the showers through 1:30. Central Washington begins to dry out, and then a lot of the stormy activity just moves to the east of us and to the north of us by tomorrow evening. Still cloudy and cool and windy, but we should begin to dry out by about the dinner hour. And then it appears that Saturday will be mostly dry into 10 o'clock Saturday night before the next weather system moves in just in time for Sunday. But again, Saturday, remember, that's our Lilac Parade, our Armed Forces Torchlight Parade. So daytime highs, as I mentioned, were much cooler than average. High of only 55 in Spokane, 54 in Newport. Sandpoint with a high of 52 degrees, 51 in Pullman. And again, it's another damp, wet day. We'll look for a high of 60 in Colville. And it continues that way. I think we get a bit of a break on Saturday. I know I've got a few raindrops there, but I think we get a bit of a break there. More showers or isolated thunderstorms on Sunday, and then we'll look for rain Monday and Tuesday. Right now, it looks like we begin to dry out the middle part of next week. And for the first 2 days of Memorial Day weekend, I've got partly cloudy skies and highs in the low 70s.
I like the looks of that. Thank you very much. All right, a Western Washington high school told students to stay home today after a staff member came to work while infected with the measles.
So we checked if our local districts require teachers to be vaccinated. More on that coming up.
Initially, we all thought it was a student at our school. We didn't know it was a teacher.
Issaquah High School was closed today after the district confirmed a staff member came to work while infected with the measles. It's now one of 5 new cases in Western Washington.
The Issaquah School District has not said if the infected teacher was up to date on their vaccinations. Washington State does not require staff to be current on their vaccinations. Having said that, here in the Spokane School District, faculty went through a verification process in February. A spokesperson says, should there be an outbreak, staff who cannot provide immunization records cannot return to work until the quarantine ends.
Now, statewide, it's been up to each school district to decide what is required. This month, Governor Jay Inslee signed a new law removing the personal and philosophical options to exempt children from the MMR vaccine that is required for school and child care entry. The new law also makes it mandatory for school and child care staff and even volunteers to provide immunization records showing they've received that MMR vaccine or that they have proof of immunity.
All right, to some sports tonight. Warriors getting a come-from-behind win. The Blazers, they beat them 114-111. The Warriors now have a 2-0 lead in the Western Conference Finals. So that was the final possession of the game where Andre Iguodala got Damian Lillard to turn over the ball. Klay Thompson, by the way, started slow but then led the charge in the third quarter for the Warriors. He scored 13 points in that quarter, 24 overall. Meantime, former Zag Zach Collins had an awful evening, playing 8 minutes, scoring no points, and accumulating 5 fouls.
Hey, they're not out yet.
They're not out yet. Best of 7 right there, but they got to turn it around.
Yes,
my Blazers got to turn it around. All right, well, we still have more weather coverage ahead tonight. We'll take a look at some of the conditions we've seen around the region after the break. And if you would like to share videos and photos with us, just post them to our KREM 2 Facebook page.
You're watching KREM 2 News at 11.
Welcome back. A lot of you have been sharing your photos and your videos of the big story of the day, of course, which was the extreme weather.
Yeah, we'll take a look now at some of the best moments caught on camera tonight. So this video is actually of hail at my house this evening. My wife sent me this video. She says if it plays right here, it does play.
Eventually.
Maybe.
Oh,
She said aside from the hail, rain was really impressive. The hardest she's seen it rain in 4 years. So this video is from our Jen York. She tweeted out tonight of rushing waters around her. She said, it's up to my shins out here.
Yeah.
And it was, in fact, in a lot of places deeper than that.
Yeah, our photographer Dave Summers actually tweeted out another video of high waters getting onto I-90 eastbound in downtown Spokane. Look at that.
My goodness.
It's incredible. It looks like it's almost up to the window of his car.
Like he needs a boat.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just incredible images coming in. All that water, though, did make for a very spectacular shot of the falls downtown. This also was one thing that we got a lot of questions about. This is a picture from Heidi Simmons. So this was out near the Wandermere area in North Spokane. Quite a few people wondering, why does it look like a tornado, a funnel cloud? But Tom, we're saying that we're not sure that that's exactly what that was.
No, we don't think it was although we could get cold air funnels with these types of storms.
Okay.
But we don't think that was it. We didn't hear any reports of any kind of rotation. So, rain shaft or just kind of different layered clouds.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
but it got your attention.
It did.
It certainly did. And it'll be interesting to see in the coming days, how many homes across the region were damaged or sustained flooding because of this, right?
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you, and we even had some folks that were tweeting to us saying, hey, my car got flooded. What do I do?
Yes.
Right.
So there's people are going to be dealing with that now.
Yes.
There's going to be some fallout. So I guess the big question tonight, Tom, is it over now?
Well, the rain is not over, but I think the strong storms are over, but we've still got rain. Light rain overnight and again expected on Friday. Saturday should be mostly dry, but I think more storms will move in late Saturday night into Sunday. Possibility of a few more thunderstorms. And it's really going to be cold and windy on Friday. Wind gust to 30.
But the Torchlight Parade, you're thinking, might be dry.
Yeah, it may be dry, but bundle up.
All right, sounds good.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.